Hello and welcome to this demonstration of SHL's High Potential Identification Solution. My name's John and I'm part of the solution team here at SHL, and I'll be spending the next few minutes demonstrating how our solution brings objectivity through people science and data to identifying high potentials. We'll go through each aspect of the solution. Firstly, having a look at the assessments that your employees take. We'll then look at the automated development reports that are generated after they take those assessments. And finally, we'll look at the dashboard of insights that identify your high potentials and any of their development needs. So to start the process, your participants take the Occupational Personality Questionnaire. That's also known as the OPQ, and a motivational questionnaire. Now, we can also use data from an optional cognitive assessment and an engagement survey. So let's first take a quick look at the OPQ. The OPQ takes approximately 20 minutes to complete, and the data that it generates can be used to support many talent decisions, from hiring through to ongoing talent management. So if you, like thousands of other businesses, use the OPQ to support your hiring processes, the data that you've generated can go into a big pot, and then you can use that data to support many other people decisions. So you can map and compare your new joiners against your company's competencies and culture, and you can identify hypos, and you can strategically target group and individual development, and there are many other use cases too. Now, if you're a current SHL user, you'll probably know the OPQ, but did you know that it was taken by over 1.5 million people across the world last year, and its scientific validity is second to none? It is seen as the best predictor of workforce potential in the world. Now, alongside the OPQ, participants also complete a motivation questionnaire. So let's take a quick look at that now too. So this is the motivational questionnaire. I'm just going to take a couple of example questions. How does this affect your motivation at work? Feeling that I am falling behind the standards expected of me in my job. I find that demotivating. And knowing that the organisation does things that are detrimental to society also, I find that very demotivating. The job paying well, motivating. Having to take responsibility for decisions, also like that. And these questions go on for 20 minutes to build up your motivational profile. Now, as I mentioned, there are two additional assessments, a cognitive assessment and an engagement survey, which are both optional. Now, in the interests of keeping this demo relatively brief, I won't show either of those today, but just so you know, the combination of data generated from these assessments is what is needed to identify true hypos. But you're probably thinking, well, what happens next? How do we get from that pool of talent data to identifying the high potentials? Well, SHL conducted a study of over 430,000 people to discover what truly defines what a high potential is. And we discovered three things. We found that hypos aren't just the high performers. The true hypos also have what you can see on the diagram here, which is high aspiration and high engagement too. We also found that true hypos who show strengths in all three of these areas are 11 times more likely to achieve executive positions. And they're 12 times more likely to be successful once they get there. And they're twice as likely to stay, put in that extra effort and meet their performance goals. So that's what this solution is all about. The SHL platform looks at your participants' assessment results and identifies who has that all-important high aspiration, ability and engagement. Now, this solution is very important because only 3 to 5% of all employees actually have high potential. And interestingly, only 15% of high performers are actually high potential. So what I'm saying is that only 15% are strong in all three areas. So it's very, very important to correctly identify hypos, because if you don't, you won't utilize them and you won't retain them. But before we have a look at the dashboards of insights to identify those hypos, let's look at what the participants receive once they've taken the assessments. So they receive one of two reports. Those who haven't been identified as a hypo through the science receive a development action planner, and the ones that have been identified as a hypo receive this report, which is the Unlocking Potential report. Now, this gives a summary of their strengths as well as a list of targeted development activities broken down by the relevant competencies. Now, both this report and the development action planner are designed to personalize and focus development. So while at the same time putting that development in their hands. So now we've seen what the participants' experience is. Let's look at the dashboard of insights that the HR team and the C-level have in real time so that they can identify those hypos. Okay, so this is the platform where we're going to find out who our high potentials are. So I'm setting up a new insight here, and I'm going to select who I want to find out if they're a hypo. So you can do this in different ways. You can do it by individual level, or you can do it by groups, or you can break that down by the different measures. So we have gender, location, business function, title, and as I mentioned, group, you can break that down as well. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to select all the females. And there we go. And I'm going to run or create that insight. Now, what the platform is doing is taking all that data that we've got on those individuals that I've selected, and it's mapping them or measuring them against what it takes to be a high potential, and then putting them or mapping them onto this dashboard here. So I'll just scroll down from the top to the bottom so you can see the level of insight that you get. Now, the first thing to mention here is we can export all this insight across the ability, aspiration, and engagement into a spreadsheet, and you can see how the individuals that we've selected are broken down against all the different measures. So it's a really good way to understand development areas for that organization or those people within your organization. We have the headlines here with the key themes, but let's have a look at this first graph. We have ability and aspiration plotted. So we have everyone mapped on here, and we can see the numbers. If this was just a single person, you just see their initials, but we're going to have a look at these people in the top right-hand corner, those with high aspiration, high ability. And we can see Monday and Isadora are essentially our high potentials here, but there's potentially a problem. The engagement of both of these individuals is low, so they score 5 out of 5 in terms of ability, aspiration, both of them, but both of their engagements are low. So let's look at their detail. Let's look at their details in a little bit more. So again, but for Monday, we're going to break it down by ability, aspiration, and engagement, and we can see from an ability perspective, operational factors, so adapting and coping and organising, executing, analysing and interpreting and supporting and cooperating are all really strong across the board. But potentially here's an area for development in terms of organising and executing. She's going to be an incredible hypo. So some development areas potentially there. And again, from a transformational factors perspective, again, really strong across the board, leading and deciding, interacting and presenting, creating and conceptualizing, and enterprising and performing. Let's have a look at our aspiration. Super strong, pretty much maximum scores throughout in terms of her aspirations. And again, we can see that her engagement is 1 compared to the average on the group, which is 3. And if you want to have a look at that in more detail, and as I mentioned at the beginning, you can do that within the downloadable data. Now, as a group, we can look at the overall ability and aspiration in more detail. So we can target development for the group more broadly. So we can see here where the group scores the most poorly analysing and interpreting from an operational perspective, and creating and conceptualising from a transformational area. And we can see that written here, or indeed within the ability distribution section here. And we can also look at that in table by individual. And again, we can break the group's aspiration down here, and we can have a look at where that's distributed across the group. Now, this is a great opportunity because as you get new data, you get new people coming to the organisation that have taken those assessments that we talked about, they can be instantly plotted onto these dashboards. You can include them, so you can make sure that you're identifying hypos quickly and you're getting them progress through the business as you'll need to, so you can help retain them and utilise them as they come on board. And you can also measure how you're doing with those hypos as well, because there's a large population or large percentage of hypos drop out of hypo programs. But if you can identify them and identify them properly based on the science and these three key factors, then you're more likely to retain them, significantly more likely to retain them, as I talked about earlier on. And you can track, as I say, their progression as you go through. And not only that, if you buy the mobilised product, not just the high potential identification dashboard, but you buy our mobilised product, which is the broader one, which gives you access to all the insights, then you can take these hypos and you can use them for, or you can find where their next roles are in terms of succession planning, or you can delve deeper into their development areas, or map them against the culture and competencies of the organisation, or with the data that we've already caught from those high potential assessments that have been taken. So a very, very powerful solution indeed. So that was the high potential identification solution from us at SHL. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do look out for other demonstration videos of our other talent management solutions. But please do visit shl.com/mobilise for more information. And I will see you soon.